So we're going to continue our chat about multiplication. So yesterday, probably, I'm pretty sure most of you guys would have known how to do everything we did yesterday without me saying anything, but I wanted to go over just in case. Today might be a little bit more eye-opening, but not that much, honestly. What we're going to do is we're going to be looking at some shortcuts so that we don't have to do the box method. That'll come in handy because a lot of times you're doing polynomial multiplication is like a single step in a problem before you do something else. And so the box method takes some time, so it'd be nice to have a shortcut for that. And so we'll look at some shortcuts. Also, we'll look at like mega multiplication, like not just two things, but a bunch of multiplication with polynomials and how to handle that situation. So that's our objective for the day. 2 shortcuts and mega multiplication. So here's shortcut number 1. If you ever have a binomial being squared, that means you're multiplying that binomial by itself. Now I'm putting plus and minus because it could be plus or minus, right? But here's the shortcut, okay? You do the 2 first numbers multiplied together. So x times x in this case. You do the 2 last numbers multiplied together. And then you're going to do the 2 middle numbers, the x and then the positive negative a. And then you're going to double it. So you do 2 times ax. So you multiply the 2 middle numbers together and double it. Okay? So it's a shortcut. It's a lot faster than doing the box method. Well, it's not a lot faster, a little bit faster, but there it is. So we'll do some examples to kind of show what that looks like. All right, so example 1. Suppose I gave you guys, call this number 1. Suppose I gave you guys x minus 3 squared. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite this as x minus 3 times x minus 3. I'm going to do my 2 first numbers multiplied together. X times x is x squared. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And then I'm going to multiply these together, but I'm going to also double it. So negative 3 times x doubled. What would that be? Negative 6x. It's a little bit faster than the box method. So what's negative 3 times x? Well, no, negative 3 times x is negative 3x, right?
Oh, what's it?
Yeah. What's negative 3 times x?
Oh, negative 3 times x is negative 3.
There you go. Now double it. There you go. Shall the eyebrow find peace? It was all discombobulated. We'll do another one. All right. So let's do another one. X plus 5 squared. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write it twice. Call this number 2. Okay. What comes first? What comes last? Okay, now here's the tricky part, the middle number. You take these 2 numbers and you double it. What's that? There we go. We'll do one more just to kind of bring it all the way home. I'm going to make it a little more complicated. 4x minus 3 squared. No, there's not a cube shortcut that I'm going to be going over with you guys today. Actually, that was the that lesson I left with you guys on with the sub day about a week or two ago. Gave you guys a way to find that, but even that's not horribly fast. It's kind of tedious. All right. So, Ivan, I'm going to pick on you here. What's the first number going to be? Good. And it's going to be 16x squared because there's 2 x's there. Next, I'm going to ask Esteban, what's the last number going to be? This one? We're going to multiply them. Try again. One more time. They're both negative. Positive 9. Because it's negative times a negative is positive. Positive 9. And now the tough one, the middle one. I'm going to let everybody think about it for a minute. See if you can think about what the middle is going to be. Don't shout it out, though. I want to give someone a chance. All right, Max, what do you think? That's right. So we take these two, we multiply them. What does that make? Negative 12, right? And then we're going to double that, which is negative 24x. Okay? So once you get used to it, a little bit snappier than the box method, kind of useful in a variety of situations. So that's our first shortcut we'll look at today. Let me give you guys a student practice or so here to do. Let's do x minus 4 squared. And let's do 5x plus 2 squared. Try those two problems there. We'll see what you guys get. Okay, so there's the answers. I saw a few people leaving the square off of there. I'm not too sure why on that one. But there should be a square because we are doing 5x times 5x's. 2x's make x squared. But that's about it. All right. So the shortcut's nice, you know, because it saves time. But, you know, let's say you forget, you can always do the box method. It just takes more time. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at a second shortcut. Here's another shortcut. These are called a conjugate pair. When they're exactly the same pair binomials, it's just that one has an opposite sign than the other one. Those are a conjugate pair. Now, I'll show you why the shortcut works, but you don't need to write this down, okay? But I will show you why it works. If I have... I could have done that with the last one too. I didn't. I just gave you the shortcut. But if I fill in this box right now, once again, you don't have to write this down. Just watch. I get this. And what's interesting here is that since these things are exactly the same but opposite signs, you see these like terms here. One's positive, one's negative. They're just going to cancel out. So I'm just left with the first one and the last one being squared, and that's it. Actually, this is supposed to be minus a squared. So our shortcut for these guys is that you take the x's and you multiply them. You take the a's and you multiply them. And you're done. You don't have to worry about the middle number because it cancels out. Okay? So that's it. That one's a little bit of a nicer shortcut than the last one. Don't have to worry about the middle number. All right, so we'll do some practice there. So let's say I had x plus 4 times x minus 4. Right? So we just do the first times the first, and we do the last times the last. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Done. No box needed. Okay. Remember, these shortcuts only apply to these special circumstances where they're exactly the same, just one's plus and one's minus. Let's do another one here. Okay, so 2x times 2x is?
4.
Right. And then the last number will be?
Negative 49.
And that's it. So there's our second shortcut. Once again, box method works, but this is faster. All right, so student practice. I'll throw a couple up here for you. Let's try x plus 9 times x minus 9. And let's try 3x plus 1, 3x minus 1. Try those two. All right, so that's that. So those are the only two shortcuts we're going to learn to. So we saw two shortcuts. We saw this shortcut where you have a binomial being squared. In other words, you're multiplying it by itself. And for that one, it looks like this. You have the doubling the middle situation going on. And then we saw this other shortcut where they're almost the same, but they have opposite signs. And in that case, it's just like that with no middle term. Okay. So you have to recognize when to do those shortcuts. So if you see a problem that looks like this or like this, where they're identical, then you use this one. If you see one looks like this, then you use the other shortcuts. You have two shortcuts, keep them separate. Once again, the box method works on all these, but kind of slows you up a lot, especially for these next problems. So in the next problems, what we're going to do is we're going to do like mega multiplication. We're going to multiply a bunch of polynomials together. The shortcuts help make that process faster. So let's begin. So before we begin, go ahead and copy down this slide here. So you guys will notice that each one of these steps has a statement at the end, if possible, if necessary, which means you may not have to do every step every time. It just depends. So, but if you do, this is the order I would recommend going in. It's not that you would be wrong if you did it a different way. I just find that this makes things faster and less prone to error if you go in these steps here. So shortcuts first. So if you see any shortcuts, like if you see anything that looks like this, or if you see anything that looks like this, those are our two shortcuts that we learned. So do those first, get those out of the way. Next, anything else that's not one of those patterns that's like polynomials being multiplied together, we're going to have to do like a box on them. It could be a 3 by 2, it could be a 3 by 3, it could be a 2 by 2. It just depends. But box method. And sometimes you'll have like a little number in the front after you do everything at the end. You have a bunch of stuff that you've worked out, and that's the last step, is to take him and just finally multiply him in at the end, the distribution step. So shortcuts first, box method. Sometimes you might have to do the box method twice. It just depends how many you're multiplying together. And then followed by distribution. All right, so let's take a look at one. All right, so take a minute, write that down, and we'll begin. So our first thing we want to do is look for the shortcuts. So see if you guys can find some up there. See if you can identify them where they are. There are 2 of them up there. This is our shortcut number 2 that we learned today. So I'll put S C2, shortcut number 2. And this is our shortcut number 1. Okay. I'll do the work off on the side for each one of those. So 2x minus 3 times 2x plus 3. So that's our shortcut number 2. That's the one where the middle term doesn't matter. You just do the first one times the first one, and the last one times the last one. So there's that. Shortcut number 1, I'll do over here. That's the one where we start by rewriting it twice. And this is the one where you do have a middle number. It's the doubling of the middle numbers there. So we do first times first, last times last. We multiply these two, which is negative 1x, and then we're going to double it, so it's negative 2x. So now, after having done those shortcuts, I have the following things. This shortcut number 2 gave me 4x squared minus 9. Shortcut number 1 gave me x squared minus 2x plus 1. So I got my shortcut step out of the way. So that would be step 1, right? Now step 2, we're going to do the box method, right? So step 1 is shortcut. Step 2 is do any boxes if necessary. In this case, I'm going to need to do one box. It's going to have to be a 3 by 2 box. I've got 3 terms here, and I've got 2 terms here. So my box is going to have to be a 3 by 2 box. Okay, so let's fill that in. This box here is going to be 4x squared times x squared, which is 4x to the 4th. The one to the right of that, 4x squared times negative 2x is negative 8x cubed. The one to the right of that, 4x squared times 1 is 4x squared. On the bottom left, negative 9 times x squared is negative 9x squared. Negative 9 times negative 2x gives me the next box over, which is a positive 18x. And then finally, negative 9 times 1 is negative 9. Now I have to be careful on this one. Do you guys see how my diagonals are not like terms? This one's a cube on the top middle, and this one's a square, so we're not going to combine those. But we do have some like terms. They're a little bit separated from each other. I've got a square here and a square here. Those are the only 2 like terms that I have. So I'm going to put those together. So starting with my biggest term, I've got 4x to the 4th. And then the next biggest one is the negative 8x cubed. And then we have our squares. I'm just going to combine those together now. Negative 9x squared and positive 4x squared would be negative 5x squared. You just add negative 9 and 4 together. You keep the x the same because that's how you add like terms. Then we have the 18x. Right here, right?
No, above it. No, okay, like in the box.
This guy?
Yeah.
No, because we're multiplying. 4x squared times 1 is just 4x squared. Yeah. No problem. Now let's put that in parentheses because we still have this guy on the outside here. So that's the end of step 2. Now we're ready for step 3, which is distribute. Distribute. So step 1 is shortcuts. Step 2 is do any boxes that you can. Step 3 is distribute. So here we go. 4x squared times, negative 4x squared times 4x to the 4th is negative 16x to the 6th. Then we do the next one. Negative 4x squared times negative 8x cubed is positive, because double negatives make a positive, 32x to the 5th. Then the next pair, negative 4x squared times negative 5x squared, positive 20x to the 4th. Negative 4 times 18. Thank you. 72x to the 3rd. And then finally, negative 9 times negative 4x is positive 36x squared. And now we're officially done with our mega multiplication problem. Yes, it is a lot of work. So step 3. So step 1, shortcut. Step 2, box. Step 3, distribute. All right. Okay, so we'll close out with a student practice with this kind of stuff. There's 2 of them there. See what you guys can do. I think both of these are a little bit easier than the one that I did, or a little bit less work anyway. So for number 1, I would start by replacing the x plus 4 squared with 2 of the x plus 4s. That's a shortcut, so I get x squared plus 8x plus 16. That's shortcut number 1. Then you distribute. On number 2, we have 2 shortcuts, and they're both shortcut number 2. So we do shortcut number 2 on that to get here. We do shortcut number 2 on that to get here. After that, you're going to use the box method for those, and you would end up with that. All right? That's it for the day. Already checked notes. You guys are good to put those away, and we'll be done.